Coach Simpson, thank you for joining me today. For coaches who don't know who you are or what you do, can you kind of provide them a little background about yourself and kind of the resources that you provide to the coaching community?
Sure. I've been coaching now as a head coach for about 13 years. I got my first job at the age of 27, so I kind of came up through Alabama as a junior high coach and worked my way up as a defensive coordinator, and then got very fortunate to get a job in Montgomery. Probably one that I was not ready for, but I learned as I went, and I was fortunate to have a little bit of success in Alabama. And then my wife and I graduated from Harding University, which is in Arkansas, for those who aren't familiar. So we moved about 30 minutes from where we went to church and went to college and came back, what we would consider to be home, to Southside, which is near Batesville, Arkansas, and took a job. You might know this, when you take jobs from one state to another, there's usually a reason no one in that state wanted that job. And so, I got a brand new program pretty much. They'd been around 5 years, getting their teeth kicked in because they were in a really tough conference. So I've been here now 9 years, going on my 10th year coming up. And it's been a process. Nothing is quick and easy in life that's worth doing. And now we're better. We're still got a long way to go. We've won the conference 2 of the last 3 years, starting to make the playoffs, starting to have kids believe in what we're doing. And I wrote my first book back in November. It came out. And since then, I guess if you write a book, people just assume that you're smart. Really, all it is you're brave enough to stick it out there. So a lot of coaches have reached out to me, and it's been pretty awesome to be able to share some knowledge with guys. And a lot of it is, here's a lot of mistakes that I did, and maybe this will kind of steer you the right way.
Kind of something you just touched on. Like, I personally have not switched states while coaching. What was that process like of transitioning while being in another state? How much time did you have in between like being the head coach there, and by the time you were able to get moved to your new state?
It was tough. I remember in the spring trying to drive up and spend 2 or 3 days at one school while you're burning up your days at the other school. And I was in the middle of track season. Like I wanted to honor my commitment, because I committed to coaching that sport. I was going to do it. And so it was a lot of driving, sleeping on people's couches, and trying to make it happen. It was, anytime you transition at any point in your career, it's never easy. It's really never easy for your family. And so it's always something you want to be kind of wary of, or I was. So I knew when we moved, we wanted to put down roots and be there for a while, we hoped. And so it was tough, man. It was really tough, and you kind of feel like you're behind the 8 ball. It took us a while to get everything installed, and so you've got to make kind of adjustments. It's not going to be everything you wanted, so you just have to kind of, what can I get in now? What's most important? But I do think when you change jobs, it does cause you to sometimes prioritize something so it can be good. So a lot of times, even though I'm not going to move jobs, I'll put myself through that process each off season to keep it fresh. I think it's important coaches do that.
Before we get to some culture stuff and a couple other things, I want to talk just briefly X and O's, and you'll do a little mini presentation towards the end of this for coaches. But I mean, you're very well known as a shotgun WingT guy. Kind of before we even get into the shotgun aspect, why shotgun and not under center WingT? Why that personal preference? I mean, we'll have WingT coaches argue over that all day long, which one is better and all that. But for you, why did you choose shotgun over under center?
Well, I came to this a whole different way than a lot of guys did. Guys that end up where I am and a similar offense have come from one of two places. They came from spread and wanted to learn to run the ball, or they came from under center and they needed space. A lot of guys that are under center, issues you run into, there's 9 guys in the box, and so they've got things to beat it. I'm all for any offense you run. So I've been a big believer in, there's not a magic pill or a magic offense. I don't believe there is. I believe what we do gives our kids the best chance to win. And so for us, I had a lot of spread background. I grew up Tony Franklin system, and then I got the Noma Zone system, and then I got Rick Stewart systems. I've been a big believer in investigating different looks. I think it's awesome that these coaches are putting out this content. So I've always bought it. And then what worked for us, we blended stuff up, and we wanted to take the best of all the worlds. So I wanted to take the best of Noma Zone, which I think is how simple his offense is, and the RPOs he puts in. I think that's unbelievable stuff. We wanted that. The WingT, I think the series-based offense, I think all the if-thens are built into the system. We wanted that. We wanted the power run game, the buck sweep, double handoff, all the misdirection stuff. That's the best of the WingT, in my opinion. We wanted to get that. Then the Tony Franklin system, his screen game is unbelievable. We thought that was the best part of his system. So how can we, and it's taken us several years. It wasn't like we just stuck it in one year and boom, it was perfect. We've tweaked every year. The reason we like the gun is that I do believe it gives you flexibility depending on your athletes a little bit more. It allows you to highlight your quarterback's abilities a little bit more. So I would recommend guys that maybe they don't think they've got a great quarterback, or maybe he's more of a game manager, then maybe under center is the way you need to look. Because if you go to the gun, that guy taking the snap needs to be good at something. He needs to be a great runner. He needs to be a great decision maker. He needs to be a great passer. He's got to at least have one of those skills. And so we feel that if in the gun, we're able to give him the ability to highlight his skill set. Last season, quarterback ran for 700 yards and ran for about 15 touchdowns. 2 years ago, the kid threw for 27 touchdowns. A couple of years before that, we ran a ton of what we consider belly read, because that's what he was good at. And so it gives you all those flexibility. That's why we went to the gun. I'm not, guys that are under center wing T, man, we got put out of the playoffs by a team under center wing T. So it's tough. But I think the wing T, the tight end wing base, to me, defenses have a hard time with it. So we wanted to keep that.
Kind of the next part of that is how you said you take a little bit from every system it's still, I think, you run WingT concepts, normal zone concept, but how much do you tweak it each year? And then what are the main driving factors of that? What causes you to tweak? Is it personnel? Is it maybe something that you like that you thought already fit your personnel? Like, what is the main drive, or is it something else? What is that main driving force to tweak and edit from year to year?
It better be personnel. I think at the high school level or the lower college level, when you're not able to cherry pick what you get, it better be personnel. Even inside the wing T under center, they're going to adjust to what their guys are. And so what we have tried to do is go with a rule of 3. So that means we have 3 runs to the strong side. We have 3 runs to the quick side, 3 screens, 3 RPO concepts, 3 drop backs, 3 rollout, keeping it within 3. Because I feel like the more you put in, the less you can spend your time on, which I think is a wing T concept, being really good at very simple things. It's also a spread concept. A lot of wing T guys don't know. It's also very much a spread concept, run a couple concepts really well. But what we do is we tag off of those. Like, we're going to run buck sweep, and we're going to build in tags into our scheme that allow us to be very flexible. So one year, our wing was not a great blocker, so we had to have all kinds of answers for buck sweep with a really good 9 technique. This season, our wing was more of a fullback type kid, and so we didn't need that tag. So it's in the system. We just cut out what we don't need. It's kind of, I guess, the long answer to what you were going with is we want all the tags built in, and we want to cut. We want to come in the summer, hopefully we're going to get it, and put it in. And then we want to cut to what fits our personnel. We don't want to just add stuff to add it. We want it to be inside of our system, but we want it to adjust to our personnel. What can they do?
Okay. Now, a couple things there that kind of gave me a couple questions. One, you said strong side and quick side. Does that mean you flip your line?
We do. I'm a big believer in strong and quick because to us, again, that's more simple. We're now having to teach. We say buck. I don't have to say right or left. I've cut the verbiage down. Okay. I've also allowed for drill time to work. So now, our guards do know both spots, but they're able to primarily focus on one. And then inside of our offense, I don't always get prototype linemen. And so my strong tackle, he might be terrible at pass protection. And so we can move him to strong tackle and kind of cover him up and ask him to do what's in his role at one spot. Where our quick tackle is going to be over there handling 5 techniques and blitzers and screens and all that kind of stuff. And so it really helps our practice time. For us, it's been simple. We really, really have liked it. It obviously gives a tell to the defense. We don't care about that. Defensively, we're going to make you pick your poison. Are you going to overload our strong side or our quick side? And we're comfortable going either way.
Now, when you say tags, now that can be interpreted a couple different ways. Is that tags adjustments to your actual play? Is that adjustment to your linemen, or is it kind of a mixture of both? What are tags for you?
Both. We want to be able to tag our running with our linemen, obviously, tag blocking that's going to work for them. So we want to have multiple tags on the play side, and then we tag everything backside for RPO, screen, whatever it is. So here's an example. We would call like buck fast. Okay, that's buck, sweep to the strong side, fast screen to the quick side. Not many tags there. Okay, but then let's say we're having a hard time with a 9 technique. Well, our tag for that is bypass. So now our wing knows I'm not going to block the 9 technique. We're going to go around him. We're going to kick that guy. So you could go buck, bypass, fast. Or we could go, let's tag the quick side. Maybe we're having a hard time with the inside linebacker. We want to read him. So we would call buck, whatever our tag is that year for reading the inside linebacker with the quarterback. Okay, and then the screen concept off of it. Or sometimes we can tag our receivers RPO into that read. Like we called it peak last year, probably a different name this year. We can stick route because all we're trying to do is build in answers with as little as possible. I hope that makes sense. I know it's kind of a lot to throw out there, but that's our goal of every single play. We want to have tags for any play side issue, any backside issue, and screens. And as you can see, I'm getting expensive. And so to me, that's why we limit it to 3 plays. And we're going to tag it all, but it's just 3 plays. Like playing a basketball team, when they run like flex offense, I used to coach basketball, they'd run like a motion flex offense. Well, every cut had a potential this. And so it's only 1 play, but there's so many possibilities.
Do you set a limit on how many you put in each year? Just 3 tags?
That's it. Now, here's the deal. We want tags that talk to 1 kid. That way I can also, as you're looking at doing quick and strong, so like you mentioned, we also have certain positions that require a lot more thinking. Obviously, quarterback in this offense requires quite a bit. Our wing back's got to be a guy that can handle and process things. And then our quick tackle, because those are the 3 guys that have the most words that talk to them. And so other linemen, they just hear buck and they can kind of just tune out everything else. But those guys have got to be on the alert for all the tags. Well, and we'll tag too. We'll tag who runs it. So for us, buck always goes to our F. But if we want to run it with a different kid, we just tag that guy's position, and now he's running it. So it gives you, it's now I'm running buck sweep, but by the time I'm done with it, with all the flavors that we can run it makes it tougher to stop, and it builds in answers for me. So no matter what the defense does, I feel like we may not always win, but at least we'll know what we can go to.
How have you developed culture at your school? Like, is it core values? Is it leadership councils? Like, what are you doing to develop culture at your school and your program?
And that's the tough thing. That's a great question, and I think that you're in the right path because you're already asking that. I get asked to do a lot of things similar to this. And the guys that only ask about X's and O's, they're just missing the big picture because that matters a little bit. I mean, it does matter. You need to know your stuff. I feel we owe it to our players to be experts in the game. That being said, more importantly, I feel we owe it to our players to develop them as young men. And so I try to shy away from programs. I'm a big fan of, I know Randy Jackson has written several books. They're unbelievable. I recommend them to anybody. Okay. That stuff's awesome. We have kind of gone more one-on-one. I call it identifying the alphas. Basically, I'm looking for the leaders coming through, and we try to find them at as young an age as possible. And then I try to mentor those kids because the reality is I'm going to talk to every kid, be around every kid. But if I can control the alphas, the leaders of that group, not control them, but teach them what we believe and what we're expecting, a lot of times they're going to control the rest of them. And those are the kids on your team that I mean, if you don't get those to buy in, there's going to be problems. And to me, an alpha just basically is a natural leader. You can identify them almost in kindergarten. That kids, you just kind of know they have that personality. So we spend a lot of time with that. The other thing we spend a lot of time with is we try to talk about doing more than the minimum. Like, we don't ask about what has to be done. I don't like to set minimums on stuff. I don't like to say you have to do blah. We just like to say, we turn it back on the athlete. Well, how good do you want to be? How many reps? We will set that kind of stuff. But how many days I'd be there in the summer? I don't know. How good do y'all want to be? And we kind of put it back on them to get them to start doing more than just a minimum requirement. we don't talk about winning. We don't talk about losing. We just talk about getting better each day and doing more than is the minimum of what everyone else does. And that's kind of two things that we do that I think are different than other people do. There's a lot of other pretty awesome stuff that we've stolen from other people, and we use that. And so I don't want to steal their stuff and share it on this. It's pretty neat stuff. Those are the two things I think we're kind of unique with.
When you get new staff members, or when you're interviewing potential staff members, how do you make sure they fit your culture? Like what I mean, obviously there's probably prerequisite questions, but how do you filter out those guys who might be great coaches, fantastic coaches, but don't fit to who you are and what your community is and how you're trying to develop your players?
Right. Well, the first thing is I don't ask a lot of football-oriented X and O questions. I ask some. I mean, they need to know what they're doing, obviously, but that's not the number one requirement for me to hire somebody. I want to hire somebody who I feel is passionate for what they're doing. They're passionate for kids. They want to be here. That's what all I'm looking for is, are you passionate? Are you coachable from me? Will you allow me to help you? So those are the two things we're looking for. And there are several things you can do inside an interview. You can open the door to give them a chance to bash their former school. That's a first turnoff for me. I'm going to open that door. I'm going to prod at it. Why are you looking to leave? Those type of questions, and just give them that chance to throw their coach under the bus. You're testing that integrity. What are you doing right here? And so as a young coach, I'd highly recommend never do that if you go on an interview, because that's not a good sign. The second thing we're looking at is, what if I asked you to do something you disagree with and I want to hear their answer? I don't want them just to be yes men. If they think it's morally wrong, they need to tell me. And so I want to hear that. But I also want them to know, hey, there will be a time we will disagree on something that's not a moral issue. It's a philosophy issue. And you may have to go along with what I want to do because I am the head coach. And so how is that going to play out when that time comes? So those are the kind of questions that I'm asking. And then I'll get into X and O after that kind of stuff. But I honestly believe I'm going to hire a good person and teach them how to coach.
Awesome, Coach. And before we get to that, I got one more question, because I'm kind of curious, state for state, how some of this stuff goes. Is how involved are you with your middle school program? And how do you, if you are very involved, how do you transition your culture down to those coaches, down to those players? That's always my biggest curiosity with other states.
Yeah, now we're unique to Arkansas. I want to be as involved as possible. Most schools, as you get to the level we're at, 4A or above, that's not, either they don't choose to do it or that's not a possibility. So we're kind of in a unique, so I don't want to speak for the whole state of Arkansas, but I will speak for our school that I believe it's super important. I'll go Saturday morning when I do not want to get out of bed, even after a loss, and go watch our kindergarten flag football team if they're playing at home. And I'll go watch our third grade team. I'll go because I feel that they need to know that I'm invested in this program and I'm working with these coaches. Anyone who touches one of my players, and I consider mine all the way down to kindergarten, they're going to come through me. I'm going to make the decision of, you're going to be coaching our third grade team. Well, let me find out about this guy. What do I need to know about him? And then we'll lay out for me until they get to about 10th grade. The number one goal is make sure these kids enjoy this sport, teach them safety, and keep our numbers as high as possible. I don't care if you win a game. It's awesome to win. But we want these kids to know that they're cared for. This is where we're working. And then, so I'm unique in Arkansas. I don't know if I can speak for everybody in that, but I'm very, very hands-on. So guys, here's basically kind of putting into practice what we just talked about. I'm big on, if we put something in, let's tag it. Let's make it as multiple as possible. Let's get as much bang for our buck as possible. I'm kind of a cheap guy. I order off the value meal when I go to McDonald's. I want to get as much as I can for as little as possible. And so that's kind of continuing in the vein we've been talking about. All this stuff's coming out of my offensive system. If you got questions about that, you can reach out to me. This is all my contact information. Obviously, as the season starts up, my time will get more limited. That's why I put it all out there as a system so that people can go and get help if I'm not able to help as many people as I would like to. But here's all my contact info. And please reach out, and I try to do my best to reach back out to people. I usually try to make contact with as many as I can. I've got my own website as well, fbcoachsimpson.com. But that's where this stuff's coming from. Okay, so for me, strong belly is what I'm going to talk about today, but I really want you to mainly get the idea of here's one play and here's all the stuff we can do to this one play to be really good. So I think sometimes as high school coaches, really any level coach, a lot of times we are worried about putting in a lot of stuff and not being really good at any of it, or at least I was that way. I can't speak to everybody. So for me, strong belly is kind of a mindset play. It's our flavor of a power or ISO kind of blended up together. We just call it belly because that's the WingT term, and they'll kick me out of the club if I don't call it belly. And so we think this pairs really, really well with buck sweep, which we run a lot, because it can attack the defense downhill really, really, really quickly. So it's more of an ISO play for us. And really the play is super flexible. I don't use numbers for holes because we allow the defense to determine where we're going to run, especially when we're running belly. So here's kind of the base way we block it. Pretty much our center will block on the backside. So he's going to block on the backside. So A-gap defenders, okay, where he's going to end up blocking 90% of the time, or a head-up nose. Our guard is going to block number one defensive lineman. So if that's an A-gap defender, that's where he's going. If it's a B-gap, that's where he's going. He just counts the number one defensive lineman. That's where he's going. Okay. Our strong tackle is going to block the number two defensive lineman unless he lines up outside the tight end. Okay. If he lines up outside the tight end, then he's not going to block that guy. Our tight end will always block out. Our quick guard will wrap to the backside linebacker, and our wing will fold to the play side linebacker. And then we use our quick tackle, and we'll go through this, to kind of do all of our RPOs. So you can see a couple flavors of this using the tag concept here. You know, this is our base way to run it. We call nothing, that's what it's going to be. If we call fan, that tells our B, our wing, to block out. Okay, and it lets our guard know that he may end up handling play side linebacker because we're not folding our B. We call duo or dubs or whatever the term is we're going to use that season. We're going to double all the way across the board. Everybody's doubling a defensive lineman and moving from there. This is the goal for us in anything we run. I want our guards and our running backs to be that tight. Okay, so a couple drills you can do that we do. We a lot of times we'll pod up our offense. And so if you want more information, I'm not going to spend a ton of time today on this, but we do a lot of what we call pod work, where our guards, because they're wrapping and moving second level, a lot of times we'll work with our running backs. Okay? And then our Bs, a lot of times we'll work with our tight ends. So we're not always married to where they may go. One of my favorite drills is the hurdle drill that we do, where we're setting our hurdles and giving them aiming points. And then it kind of progresses from there into where we're going to get to our guards now working against bodies. So we'll go from hurdles into going against bodies, and we're podding up. So this would be an example of a pod. We have our guards, we have our running backs, we have our quarterbacks right here. Okay? So we're just podding them up. Again, there's the base blocking rules on it. I'm going to move kind of quickly through this. If you got more information, please do feel free to reach out. Okay, so base blocking, we don't want to run into a wall. Now, I want our kids to be tough and smart. And smart means where is the defense leaving that natural gap? A gap, B gap, C gap, we don't care. That's where we're going to run because our rules dictate that. Okay, so we're going to block as few people as possible. And the way we do that is off backside. So we have play side tags that I just mentioned, and then we have backside tags that I'll go through. So this is an example of what belly ought to look like if we call nothing. We're actually in a flop set here, but belly, if we don't call any tags, should look like this. Okay, fold and wrap, and there he goes. Now that kid's good, so he got the extra 50 yards, but we got him about 15 untouched. So pretty simple scheme for us. You can see how we're handling it. Okay, what I like about belly is we don't really have to get vertical movement. All we're doing is taking the natural gaps the defense is giving us, as you can see here, and we're attacking it with our running back. So natural gaps, they're like 76 right there, in my opinion. That's not a great block, but all he's got to do is push him that direction. So that makes it a lot easier for us, okay? Here's an example of now we're going to start pairing it on the back side. So we're going to pair belly with a screen over here. So here's belly. And by the way, it's different seasons. You can see how our team looks different, but the scheme is the same. Okay, so belly with a fast screen on the backside. So all we're doing when we run backside RPOs, for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with it, is we're trying to neutralize backside defenders or take advantage of them. We're trying to make sure they either stay on the backside and I don't have to block them, or if they decide to come get involved in the run game, then we'll throw the screen. So this would be an example of belly with a fast screen. And as you can see, our double team's got a lot of movement because that line this year was pretty good. And so we're able to adjust to our athletes. Here's an example again of belly. All we're going to do, and we're actually going to overset here, block out, wrap, and then we're through the hole. The main reason that works, our guard and our running back are on top of each other. Okay, and so it's a nice, quick, easy play for us. All right, show it one more time here, and then we'll get into some of the RPO stuff. So you can see we're going to fan out, we're going to get the movement, and you can see we don't really overwhelm them. We just take them where they want to go, and we hit up inside really, really quick. It pairs extremely well with buck sweep. As you can see, we get a lot of this kind of look from buck, where teams are going to overload right outside our wing, and now belly can hit quick underneath and take advantage of them is our hope. Okay, we've already talked about the fan call, so I'm going to move kind of quickly through this because I really want to get into our RPO stuff. We do have a switch call, so that's another concept that we build in, or a tag. So switch just means our B and our Y are going to switch responsibilities. Our B is going to block out, and our Y is going to go underneath. So here's what that would look like. Okay, so a switch call right there, and there it goes. All we're doing is switching our B and our Y. Okay, then we'll use formations a lot. How many formations can we do to get them emptied out? I've already shown this clip, so we're going to go through. Here's another example. Now we're in almost a double overlook. All we're trying to do is get the defense to spread out horizontally so we can gut them inside. Okay, and then we'll run it with our quarterback. So we'll run quarterback. So now, again, we're tagging. We're not using an RPO. We're just tagging a different guy to run it to give me an extra blocker. So we're going to run it with our quarterback and allow our fullback to lead. So now I've got an additional blocker going through the hole. So it's just a simple tag. All our linemen know is we're running belly, and then we're running it Q belly. That's it. So simple, easy verbiage, but it gets us an extra blocker. Okay, we can go empty. So now we're in empty, and we're going to run Q belly. Our linemen are blocking the same thing they've always blocked. Okay, all we're doing is running it with our quarterback from a different look. So we didn't change anything on any of that stuff. We just ran it with a different guy. Last part I'm going to go through here, we're going to talk about backside RPOs. So these are to protect you on the backside. So we use all of these on buck. So that's the cool thing about our offense, I believe. Once you install the RPOs for buck sweep, they're in for belly. They're already in. So you don't have to repeat them because they're already in the backside. So we dealt with what are the problems. You run strong side belly, ISO power, whatever it is. Backside, inside linebacker is a problem. How are you going to handle that? Backside 3 is a problem. What if he chases the guard and makes a tackle? How are we going to read that guy? Or what about a 5 technique if you have to cut the inside guy to the 5 technique? So these are all the problems we've run into and the answers we've come up with to help. So here's the first one. If your problem is backside 4 or 3, we're going to run steal, okay, where we're going to tell our quick tackle to block out, and we're going to read him. Okay, so if he decides he wants to chase like he does, and I'll go slow on this, and this clip, I'll pause it right there. He's chasing. We cannot get him blocked. He would have tackled our running back, so instead of that, we're going to read him. Quarterback reads it, and you see the void left from where he left. Okay, so that's steal for us. Easy read. All right, now the backside inside linebacker is a problem. We're going to run what we call peak, okay, or we can call it stick. We've got different terms for it. This inside linebacker right here, is we're having a hard time blocking him. If he wants to chase, we're going to run the peak route or the stick route right up in here, or spot route. We've got different terms. We're going to fake the ball. Actually, we're reading it, so if he decides not to run, we'll hand it off. If he does run, we'll throw right behind his head. So again, it's a tag to handle a guy who's a problem, okay, which is the whole point for me of RPOs and screens. You can do it off other formations. So now we're going to run belly. We got trips. Let me go back over here. Sorry. We got trips away from it. So we're going to run belly. We got trips away, and we're going to read the same player. So again, this is just how you tag your offense. We're in what our version of trips is. we're reading the same linebacker because now we're running B peak. So our B is running the peak. Okay, everyone else is running belly, and we're reading this linebacker right there. If he by alignment, he's kind of beat, but he really is beat when he steps inside. That's our read, and we'll throw the peak route. Doesn't change anything for anybody. There it is, same play, nice and easy out of a different formation. So again, we're just using tags to get the look we want to help our guys out. Okay, I believe this one is also peak. Now this one we actually give it because I wanted to show one where, all right, it's killed because they're in man to man, and he's actually reading this guy. That linebacker kind of halfway hangs home because he's worried about the quarterback pulling. He's worried about us running peak, and now we don't have to block that guy, which is the whole intent of it. So now that guy is worthless to make the play. You see him kind of dancing around. This kid right here, trying to hold him with any RPO look we might have. It could be the QB's threat of a run. It could be the peak coming in behind him. Whatever it is, we're keeping him home, and that's one less guy we have to block, which cleans up the box for us to run the ball, which is our ultimate goal. Okay. Hopefully, I know I flew through a lot of that stuff, guys, but the goal I'm hoping you get from this, whatever offense you're coaching, is have built-in concepts. What can you go to when stuff isn't going well? You know your offense better than I do. You know, what plays do you have that you know where the problems are coming from? And then you just build in the concepts off of those and keep it as short as you can with the verbiage. So that's the goal for me. That's why we came up with it. For us, we just call this the WingT RPO system. It's been great for us, but hopefully a lot of these concepts, whether you want to run what I run or you want to run what you run, it causes you to kind of think through stuff.